Laura, how are you doing? Thank you so much for allowing me to come into your beautiful space.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome to my crib.
Next
It's
Big
pretty
Flip
dirty.
Cribs.
Yeah, I pretty much store everything I can fit in here. Actually, because we don't really use our dining room that much, I have a lot of furniture in there too. I have like 4 pieces of furniture down in there. But it's hard to work on a piece and then also store it in the same place because I'm not trying to ruin the other pieces while I'm working on it. So I've got 2 in here right now that are in progress and then 4 that are sitting in my dining room. Luckily, my husband doesn't care, so we're good with that. But I have to have these mosquito nets because I'm in the South, or else I will get eaten alive. So these things close, and then I got an AC unit installed so I don't die of heat stroke out here. And literally everything I need, all my paint, all my tools, all the finish, anything you could possibly need, I have in here. Even my staging walls too, I have right there in the corner in my stage.
All right, Next Big Flip. I am here in Greenville, South Carolina with Laura Valk. And when I tell you I'm super excited that she allowed me into her home and just the process that she's going to take us through, it is so inspiring. And I'm kind of got like chills on me right now just because we had some off-camera conversation and just some confirmation about what's going on here. And so for her to allow me into her home along with her husband into her workshop. Now, what's the name of the workshop again? I seen the signage on the outside.
It's just called Restored by Laura.
Restored by Laura. And when I tell you just the thought process that she has in restoring furniture, as she just uses like the analogy of how God can restore people, it's beautiful. And so it's not about me here on Next Big Flip. It's always about our guests just sharing some tips, some insights, some inspiration with you so that you can start your next big flip.
So I have 2 projects that I'm working on right now, and they're both actually using the same product, but they're from 2 different clients. But that's how good this product is. So I have one that I literally just started. I'm still actually in the preparation phase of it before I start actually using the product, except for I did a little bit on the bottom. And then this one is almost complete. I need to do one more layer of stain and then the finish. My client has requested a semi-gloss finish. So I'll do that on top and then put the hardware back on and it's good to go. But this is the product that they both have requested. It's called Retique It. And it's a product that I've just started using a lot more frequently because I posted it one time on my social media and I had a bunch of clients message me and were like, I want to do that on some of my pieces. And the main reason being it is a much more affordable way to achieve a wood finish than having to sand a piece down completely because this is paint. So the primer is made out of 60% wood fibers. So when you paint it on, there's a particular method to be able to do this to make it look most realistic. But because this is made from 60% wood fibers, it feels real and looks more realistic. And then once that dries, you do the stain on top. And there's 2 different styles that you can do stain. And I actually did a combination of both on this one in order to match what the previous wood grain was. So the drawers, I used what's called a graining tool. I have them right here. Here's one that's larger. It creates wood grain from this design on this piece of rubber. And you wipe on the stain and then you run this wood graining tool over the top and basically like wave it around to create what looks like wood grain. Then the other finish is a smooth finish, and it's simply just putting the stain on, and running a smooth brush across the finish to create the smooth lines, which is there above the doors, just smooth lines. So like I was saying, it makes it more affordable for clients mainly because it doesn't take as much time. And the product is actually not that expensive, especially when you compare it to how much sandpaper you use when you're completely sanding something down. So a lot of people do not like a faux wood finish in terms of random people on the internet that would prefer your piece to be real wood. But that doesn't always work for clients. Not all clients can afford to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get a piece down to the wood finish. And then there's another side of that. A lot of pieces are not real wood. They might look like real wood, but they are not real wood. Most frequently, they will have a thin layer of veneer, which is real wood, but it's such a thin layer that once you sand past that, you begin to reach the point that's underneath that is a combination of wood fibers. And that you cannot stain. It is not actual wood. It is MDF, which is another form of particle board, basically, that is what you find on a lot of cheap IKEA furniture. So you can't really do much with that. And like I said, a lot of pieces look like real wood, but you won't know until you start getting into it. I'll say an easy way to check if a piece of furniture is real is this is why you have these rollers on the bottom. Turning the piece around and checking. Sorry, I'm trying my hardest, but this stuff is heavy. Checking this layer right here on the back of a piece of furniture. This will show you if it's real or fake wood. This right here, you can see the actual wood grain. And I wish I had a fake one. This right here is actual wood grain. And honestly, that might be veneer too. So I can't really tell on this one, but this is real. That is right there is real wood. You can feel the texture of the wood grain. And I know that pretty much everyone knows what IKEA furniture looks like. So if that kind of particle board, many pieces of fiber, wood fibers are showing on the back, that's when you know that it's not real wood. And so I now have another process that I can talk about that's like generally going through the like standard steps of furniture flipping. Okay, one second. Yeah, I'm actually gonna sit. So a lot of the times, furniture flips have the same process. They'll turn out completely different, they'll begin completely different, but the process is generally the same. And I have standard products that I use for that, and I'll grab them while I'm here. First, I always use this product. It's called Crud Cutter. It is basically a solution that helps clean the piece. Lots of pieces, whether it looks like it or not, have grease or dirt or dust on them that will interfere with whatever you're deciding to do, even if it's sanding, and especially paint. Paint does not adhere well if there is grease and oil and dust on a surface, and you'll be able to see it in the end result. So first, you clean. Second is kind of where I'm at right here, right now. I did a light sanding on this piece to actually reveal where I needed to do wood filler. Because sometimes with painted pieces, it's almost camouflaged and it can be hard to tell, are these really shallow scrapes or are they much deeper? Do they need to be wood filled or can I just sand them right out? So after cleaning, I go through a probably 150 grit of sandpaper just over the entire surface. again, to reveal where do I need to use wood filler. So then that's where we're at on this step right now, is wood filler. I just use DAP wood, plastic wood, and get on my hands and knees and look around the entire piece, the top and the base. Base is just as important, especially if you're doing it for a client. While some people may never care to look at the base of a piece, as someone who's doing it for a client, I do. Because I'm charging them and I want to make sure that I do a good job. So I use plastic wood filler or wood filler on the top or wherever it needs to be filled in. There were a lot of scratches on this piece, as you can tell. It is a coffee table, which, as we all know, is a highly used piece of furniture, so I'm not surprised. Then, once that dries, I'll go back to my sander. Here's my sander and my shop vac. So for the longest time, I've been using this since I started, actually, this Bosch sander, orbital sander. I, for the longest time, was just using the attachment that comes with it that catches the dust. But after watching many other flippers do this, I found there's a much better way to sand in terms of collecting the dust that comes from sanding, is to attach it, find an attachment. I just found this singular attachment on Amazon and hook it up to a shop vac. And so basically the dust that you create gets sucked up into these holes while you're sanding, and it goes straight into the shop vac. And so this whole place isn't just filled with sawdust everywhere. It goes straight in here and you just clean it out, probably every couple of weeks, depending on how frequently you do furniture. Then there's a whole education on sandpaper grit. So the lower the grit, the rougher the texture of the sandpaper. The higher the grit, the smoother. So normally when you're flipping a piece, you start with a lower grit and work your way up to a higher grit. It so just depends on the piece. But in general, I'll start with 120, work my way up to 400 or 600. 400 to 600 is when that is the last swipe of sandpaper on that piece. That's going to be a smooth finish on the top, and it's going to should look really, really silky smooth. And a lot of that has to do with the way that you painted it and the way that you sanded it. If you did not do a good job, if you were not patient, which is a really massive part of this, is you're gonna find that your piece is not smooth, and that's kind of how I feel like you can differentiate between people that paint furniture, is how the finish looks in the end. So after you sand it again, that goes on to the fun part, the design part. However you want that piece to look in terms of paint or a wood finish, or in this case, a painted wood finish. And you'll do whatever you want. That's where all of this comes into play. This is the fun wall of all of these different paints that I have gathered over the last couple of years. And now I do mix and match colors because I have such little amounts of some that I want to use up. I don't want to waste anything. Hence, that's another part of furniture flipping. I'm not trying to waste anything that's found on the side of the road, even if it's trash to someone. I have found that my favorite paints are Fusion Mineral Paint and Dixie Belle Paint. Both of those are similar, different brands, but similar products in terms of what the paint is made out of. It's non-toxic, and it's also mineral paint, which is much more easy to use than like a latex paint, for example, for me at least. And it's made for furniture, so it's meant to be more durable and user-friendly. And then with the creativity piece, that's when you find out if you will be using a paint brush, a paint roller, or a paint sprayer. I have a couple of paint sprayers. I'll show you my nicest one because I have some not very nice ones. It's actually right here in the corner. This is one that I recently got from Wagner. Shout out Wagner. The only paint sprayers I have are from Wagner. There are probably some other great ones out there too, but this is just what works for me. This is the Wagner Earl X 5700. It is much smaller than a lot of the other paint sprayers out there. And even though it looks maybe fairly big, it's a lot smaller. And it is really, really professional, in my opinion, in terms of how the paint releases from the sprayer itself. So this piece is where your air comes from. And this hose just simply attaches back to the back of this paint sprayer. Plug it in, turn the switch on, that's all it is. And then your paint sprayer is ready to go. This knob right here can help determine how much air flows into your paint sprayer, which determines how fast your paint comes out. Sometimes you don't want it as fast. It depends what you want, and it also depends on the viscosity of the paint itself too. So you always play around with your paint sprayer before you paint it on a piece. Hence why there's paint all over the place in this place. Me just testing things out real quick. Then this paint sprayer is actually really simple because there's not modes, and that is what can start to get confusing to people with paint sprayers. They might look intimidating, but they are much easier to use. Another perk of this paint sprayer is that it's made from metal, and it's much easier for the paint to be washed off of this thing than plastic. So when I have leftover paint in here, it's so easy to just pour it out back into the paint bottle that I was using. It's just high quality. I just love it a lot. But I have gone through multiple other paint sprayers in the past, and they are just not the same. So if there's something that you are worried about investing in, especially from the top, this thing is only a couple $100, and it is actually worth it. And I normally don't always try to go for the most expensive things. I try to be very wise with how I spend my money for my business, because I'm trying to make the most out of it, you know. So this product is actually worth it. I'm not just trying to push a product, but I promise you, don't go through 4 cheap paint sprayers. Just buy the nice one. There are other ways that you can cut corners. I have a variety of products for the finish, the clear coat finish. I don't really have a major preference over another. I do typically use Minwax or Varathane for finishing, and there's just like any paint that you're painting a wall inside of your house. You can have a matte finish, a flat finish, satin, semi-gloss, gloss, high gloss to finish a piece. And the higher the gloss, the more likely you're going to see imperfections on your piece. So for beginners, if you're not super confident, maybe don't start out by doing a high gloss piece. That takes a lot of patience, because that again goes back to what I was saying with the products that you're using, like high quality paint rollers and sandpaper when you're sanding it. High gloss, you can legit see every imperfection that is on the piece. So start with maybe a matte or satin finish for your first couple ones. So yeah, these are all just clear finishes that I like to use, and then above are the stains that I like to use. And there are 2 different kinds of stains, gel stain and then the water-based stain. These gel stains are much thicker, and they actually do not go into wood pores. They sit on top of wood. So if you're wanting a water-based wood stain, penetrating wood stain, this penetrates the wood pores of your piece. So it's going to literally soak into the wood pores, just like you have pores on your face. There's wood pores as well. Once you sand down to a certain grit, the lower the grit, it opens up pores. The higher the grit, it closes the pores of the wood. So when you're sanding with a low grit, you don't want to go up to 400, which is a really fine grit, because that's going to close the wood pores, and your your stain is not going to penetrate it at all. So you'll need a lower grit, probably closer to 150, 120, 150 or so in order to use a water-based stain. Now a gel-based stain, because it doesn't go into the wood pores, here's a gel-based stain that's right below it. It simply just sits on top of the wood, and this is the consistency. Sometimes it reminds me of cottage cheese, which is gross, but when you first get it, you got to stir that thing up and make it look like yogurt. But it's super thick. So if you know, generally a water-based stain is water, and this is gel. So the consistency is just so completely different, and they just have different uses. So I think with any job, furniture flipping, you learn so much over time. And even though the process is generally similar in your steps of cleaning, sanding, and all of that, you can make something look completely different. But you're going to get so much better the more time that you spend doing it, like with any job. So I think it's good to have the expectation of your first couple of pieces, they might not be perfect, but that's totally okay. In your brain, set it as the expectation of, I'm learning. This is a learning process, and it's okay for me to not be perfect. I'm not perfect. There is so much for me to learn. Even if you look at these pieces, every time I talk with a client before I work on their piece, I let them know, this is not furniture or a factory furniture finish, whatever the way is you're supposed to say that. Furniture that comes from a factory is going to be perfect, where although the quality of the piece might not be great, but it will look perfect. It's brand new. When you're refinishing a piece, you're refinishing it. So, and it's done by a person, by hand. So it will not be perfect as much as you try. Even if you get to start doing glossy finishes, it likely will still not be perfect because it's done by a person and we're not perfect. So keep that in mind and don't get too hard on yourself. It's easy to get down on yourself, and even if you mess up, a lot of the times it's easy to fix. And I think that is a major part of learning furniture flipping. You have to learn how to fix things that are messed up. That's kind of the whole purpose of furniture flipping. So you cannot see this product because of how much I use it. But it is called Bin Shellac Base Primer. When you are working on a piece that has the tendency to bleed, which in wood terms, that means the wood pores start to produce tannins that basically looks like it's bleeding. It's red. It's actually crazy. When you're sanding a piece down to raw wood, typically wood that is on the darker end, like mahogany, for example, it has the tendency to produce tannins that will bleed. So if you are planning to paint that piece of furniture, if you paint it, doesn't matter if it's the highest quality paint in the world, this little red, like literally blood, looking like if you were to cut it open, it starts pooling up in this red, will appear in your paint. And you will not be able to get rid of it the more paint that you layer on top of it. So this is where this product comes in. This is a game changer for me. And a lot of paints these days say that they are an all-in-one paint. You don't need to prime. You do need to prime. That is another, I think, quality that takes a average furniture flipper to a great furniture flipper, is the way that they prepare a piece. It's all in the preparation. The fun part is probably the last 30%. The beginning 70% is this right here. Sanding, wood filler, and then primer. So this shellac based primer, the way that it works is it's so thick. You can even just see it on the outside here. This is not water based. You do not want a water base, especially for a piece that's going to bleed. This is strong durability. You will use a foam roller and it will probably destroy that roller. So keep that in mind. It's kind of a one-use thing. You'll paint it over as many times as you need to with this shellac-based primer. Most of the time it's 1 to 2 coats of this, but it will completely seal the tannins that are being produced from the wood. Then you can start painting. But I always like to use a primer no matter what. Again, I think that's what takes you from being an average flipper to a good flipper, because it's going to make the piece more durable. Like without you having someone to ask me these questions, I'm not going to go on my social media and be like, here are all the things that I've learned, or even really tell my story. And I don't really know why that is. Sometimes it does feel selfish a little bit, but my goal is to be able to express God has given me gifts, and how do I do this in a way that is humble, you know? Because I'm not, this is not for me. The point of this is not for me. I think like there's so much in restoring furniture that resembles heaven, and how, you know, there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth someday, and like all the things that were made will be restored, and and that is the same with furniture. It starts out pretty good when it was first created. Then once you start using it, it goes through some trials. You get kids. It gets a little worn down and it needs some refinishing. Hence, God. God is a restorer of us and our souls, you know? And now I get to do that. God has given me the gift through the Holy Spirit to be able to do that with pieces of wood or pieces of fake wood, you know? And I think like God gives us each ways that we can see how there's little bits of him in every part of our jobs. Like there are bits of him through your job with being able to see all these different kinds of people out there that he's created that are just completely different. You get to appreciate the gifts that he's given other people because of the gift that you have to be able to communicate to other people. Like how crazy that we don't even know, like we just met right now, but you were like, oh, I'll just go meet her. That's unusual. That is really unusual. And it has like blessed me to be able to get to do something like this. I didn't make my Instagram to get followers. Seriously. I actually do not like social media for a bunch of reasons. I think it can be great. I used Instagram as a portfolio for me to be able to show clients, these are things that I can do. If you like this, I could do this for you. And I happen to get followers. And that's a double-edged sword too. When you get more followers, the more opinions you get. But I didn't do that for this. Like my bio says, like I genuinely am doing this so that people can see that I am doing this to imitate my creator while I create. And you are doing the same thing. He is such a creative God, and the way that you are able to use that creativity through something like this is exactly what you're supposed to do. And the way, I mean, for you to even just say yes to this, and obviously you do your due diligence with prayer, but getting a word from the Holy Spirit and then to be able to just say yes and the obedience to say yes, this is a risk for you to do this. You don't know who you're gonna meet, you know? And I think it's just really cool that you said yes to doing this. Hey, I'm Laura.
Hey, I'm Gabriel.
And welcome to the Jireh House. This is our Airbnb in Greenville, South Carolina. So when you walk in, you've got the living room, sweetly designed by my sister-in-law, Amelia. She did so much in here. Our inspiration was sort of this English country design that we honestly saw on Pinterest and thought, that's really pretty. That would be a good Airbnb. So that's kind of what we ran with for the entire house. And as a furniture flipper, there are a lot of tools that I already had mentally and physically that were able to help so much with being able to completely refinish this house. I'll have to send you some of the before photos. They're not it.
And so in this living room, it's kind of a unique layout, but we wanted to make sure to make it as big as possible. So over here we've got the couch, and then
It's actually a pull-out couch.
Yes, it's pull-out couch. So technically can sleep 6 people along with the 2 other bedrooms. And then right behind you there, Laura kind of came up with this idea for kind of like a reading nook corner. So a lot of these items, a lot of these things we found at thrift stores, antique markets, stuff like that, and then kind of add that fun pendant light. So we could have some spacing or seating in here. This is one of the main features of the house in here. So this is called the speakeasy.
It was on the dining room.
Yeah. Dining room before, and we thought, people don't really use dining rooms for Airbnbs, and what can make it like pop is have a special room. So the speakeasy, first we found this piece. Actually, our sister-in-law helped us find this on Facebook for like $50, $100, something crazy cheap. So I drove down to Georgia to pick this up. This is all fake bourbon, nothing in there. It's just water and food coloring. But thought it'd be really cool. Yeah, all the bottles are real. Friends gave me some bottles. I collected some bottles. So have that, and then we have a piano over here as well. Once again, found that on Facebook Marketplace for a grand total of $0. So a lot of people give those away. They're just so heavy to move. And then we have a guitar here as well. So kind of just like a music room / speakeasy that we have in here. And then Laura, you can kind of show off the kitchen.
The kitchen we completely renovated in terms of the countertops. These were all upper cabinets too that we took out and replaced with floating shelves. We replaced the countertop. The paint is new. This bench was non-existent. One of our friends, Hannah, built this bench for us, and then one of my other friends, Mary Catherine, helped me build the cushion for it. So we had a lot of friends that helped, and a lot of family that helped out. Again, tying back to the name of the house, the Jireh House. Jireh means provider, so God is our provider, and He provided through our families helping so much with renovations, our friends giving their gifts and time to help us. Honestly, just finances with the house too. God provided so much for that, and we've just been so blessed. So I painted everything in here. I did the wallpaper in here, including the dishwasher that I painted. That was it's a very controversial thing to paint. And
it's like a I say 1995. I say it's old, probably as old as us. But it's very old, but it works just as good, and it looks great. Especially it matches the cabinets here. Money. Yeah.
And then moving on into the hallway that leads to our bathroom and our 2 bedrooms. We call them the green room and the pink room. I'll start with my favorite, the pink room. This is sort of a mauve-y pink room, but it's close enough. We color drenched this room.
What does that mean?
The trim, the back of the door, the window frame, everything in here has been painted in the same color. It's trendy right now, so we're trying to paint it. And then into the green room, which is more of maybe a masculine style, because it's super dark, is this beautiful green that we loved so much. We knew that one of the rooms was going to have to be green. So we got, again, so much of this stuff either thrifted or in Facebook Marketplace. The frame was thrifted, those cool magazines were thrifted, this artwork was thrifted, even this dresser. These were given to us by a friend. Again, Jireh, provider in all of these different ways. It is for anyone that is a new apartment or home owner or renter, how expensive homes and spaces can be to furnish. And then lastly, for the bathroom.
I'll take over the bathroom.
Yeah, because this was a project.
Yeah, this was probably the most actual renovation we had to do. So as far as the walls and everything, that was just painting and wallpaper that Laura did. We got a new faucet installed. Actually, this cabinet here, this kitchen sink cabinet, it was actually already with the house. So this is actually really nice, this countertop and everything. So made a nice green color in here, very moody. And then this is all redone. So it was just like a plastic siding in here before that was ripped apart, just like a regular shower curtain. We know we didn't want to have that. So we had to replace a lot of the wall. There was some issues with the wall, replace that. We actually did hire someone to come in and do the tile. I was going to try and do that myself, but just seemed like it was going to be a little too much work for me. So decided to sub that out. And then we installed this glass shower door ourselves. And yeah, just one bathroom in here, but it's plenty enough for, 4 people, 2 people that are staying. And yeah, we will take you out back to the best part of the house, in our opinion. All right, it is a little wet out here today. So the lighting isn't perfect, but here is our backyard. So this deck was remodeled or redone completely. We had to replace some of the studs underneath as well. But all these boards up top are new. I had to redo the staircase. The staircase was rotting away. And then we stained the flooring, and then we painted the railing and everything here.
By we mean his mom and dad.
Yeah.
They were, again, major helpers for this.
Yeah. They painted all of that, stained it. My dad helped me redo the deck. And then this is something that came from Laura's parents, completely free. Those chairs over there we'll get to later at the fire pit. Those are completely free. Yep. These these chairs from our parents as well. Yeah, so just a lot of provision there for sure. And then if you walk down to the backyard, so there were like, I don't know, 8 trees back here where these green bushes are, and a shed in the back corner. There was no fire pit. There was no hot tub, obviously. This was all just like pretty much unused space back here. But the vision we had was as many amenities as possible. So we had this deck, and then you walk off, and then you can choose, fire pit or hot tub. So yes, also that. So you can be in the hot tub and watching a movie, especially in the fall. A lot of people have been renting it for football games. So people will be watching football games all Saturday from the hot tub or from the fire pit over there. So yeah, and this oak tree, I don't know if you'll be able to get it in frame, but this oak tree is absolutely beautiful. That's something you don't really pay for with the house, but it's like an added benefit. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and especially with these string lights at night, fire pit, hot tub. It's just a lot, just an absolute vibe back here.
Yeah.
So
we also added the fence too.
Oh yes.
Or actually, Gabe completely built the fence with his dad. It's an 8-foot fence that they friend sourced the wood for them, and they built it all themselves.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that. That was the number one thing we did, and one of the most needed things. So shout out to our friend Will for helping with that.
With my painting tools, I painted the entire house, the entire exterior of the house. Yeah, so the exterior is it was like a tan before. It's white now, obviously. Use our spray gun to paint the green on the deck, the green on the brick out front as well. And then one of our other friends actually stained our fence for free. Shout out Garrett. He was going to start a staining business and wanted to try out staining a fence. So he came and did it, and it looks great. So shout out to Garrett for that. Shout out to all of our friends and family that made this be possible.
Yeah.